Hey, this is Morgan Pratt with the JMac for Congress campaign. If you're listening to this podcast, sounds like you like JMac. You can find out more about him by going to his Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube channel. Please remember to subscribe and rate us. Now coming up, more JMac.
I have to tell you, I am incredibly disappointed today with Ben McAdams' decision to vote for the impeachment of President Trump. I'm disappointed because I think this entire situation has been politicized from the very beginning. Now, those of you who've listened to my show, you know that there have been times when I have praised President Trump and times when I have disagreed with President Trump. But this is much bigger than any one election. This is much bigger than any impeachment hearing. What we allow to happen here in this impeachment process will set the tone for every presidency between now and the next 50 years. We can't just think in terms of the Democrats or in terms of the president. We have to ask questions about what are the long-term effects of what we're doing. So I want to tell you once again why I disagree with the idea that this president should be impeached. The first reason is that this has been the fastest impeachment process in our nation's history. Now, one thing I know for sure, when you're trying to get rid of a president and remove him from office, fast is not a good option. Now, if you've listened to my podcasts in the past, you will hear me play audio from Democrats who are asked, hey, why don't you take the time to get this right? Why don't you take the time to fight in the courts, to interview all of these people with firsthand knowledge? Every single Democrat says, we can't because there's an election coming up. This is frightening. We can't take the time to get to the truth because there's an election coming up. This tells you that their intent is to influence an election. It's not to get to the bottom of what happened. So the first reason I can't support it, too fast. Get to the facts, fight in court, find out the truth, at least make an honest effort at getting to the truth. And the second reason why I can't support this, the Democrats have been unable to identify a crime. Now, they paraded a bunch of experts before the impeachment committee that said you didn't need a crime in order to impeach a president. I beg to differ. Read the Constitution. It says you need a high crime or misdemeanor. It's specific. It's not a suggestion. It's specific. It's right there in the document. So if you're going to look past the document and you're going to say, oh, we can't find a crime, we're going to call it abuse of power, and we can't find a crime, but still we're going to get rid of him anyway. That, I believe, is actually an abuse of power. I think that there's a reason why it asked for high crime or misdemeanor, and that's so that you can have something specific that can be proven through a legal process. That way you avoid the politicization, I can't say that word, the politicization of this entire process. When you allow impeachment to occur outside of a crime, you allow politics to come into play. The Democrats have been unable to identify a crime. Now, they'll tell you that they think that obstruction of Congress is a crime. Well, there was a great witness who appeared before the impeachment hearing, Jonathan Turley with George Washington University of Law. He made such an incredible point. He said, a president has every right to appeal a congressional subpoena to the Supreme Court. And think about that. That's what this president has done. Now, the Democrats are unwilling to carry that through the courts because an election is coming. Is it criminal for a president of the United States to believe that he or she has a certain level of immunity and they want to take that through the courts to prove it? Is that a crime? Is that what we're saying? That can't be allowed to stand. Every president, every citizen should be allowed to appeal through the courts the decisions made by another branch of government. If not so, why do we have a third branch of government? Why do we have a Supreme Court? The reality is that the Democrats disagree with what the president did. They don't like it. They believe it's an abuse of power. Nowhere in their mind is the idea that this president might have believed some of those conspiracy theories. He might have believed some of those debunked myths or rumors and felt like he was on a quest to root out corruption in Ukraine. What if that was legitimately what he was doing? We don't know for sure. We're certainly not going through the legal process to find out. So what we're saying is, because you believe it was one thing, we need to remove this president. That makes it political, my friends, and that's why I can't support it. I believe that we have to protect every president that comes after this. I will continue to support this president when I can. I will continue to be critical of this president when I need to be critical of him. I don't agree with his decisions on how he handled Ukraine. I certainly would not have done things that way. But to remove him from office, to remove the commander-in-chief, it should require such a high standard. And I believe that the Democrats and Ben McAdams today, they lowered that standard and will pay a political price for this for years to come. If you truly want an election to decide, let's let the election decide, and let's leave the impeachment proceedings behind.
Thanks for listening to the JMac podcast. If you'd like to donate to JMac for Congress, you can go to jmacforutah.com. That's jmacforutah.com.